This is the ultimate camera comparison video of Nothing Phone 3 versus Google Pixel 9. An honest review for both phones. This is the flagship phone of Nothing and Google. We got a dual camera system on Google Pixel 9 with that speech enhancement. Well, we have a triple camera system, all 50 megapixel sensor on Nothing Phone 3. I think that's it for a quick audio test. Let the battle begin. On the widest field of view, you got a wider 1x on Nothing Phone 3. We only have 1.5x on Pixel 9 on portrait mode. Shadows are stronger on Pixel 9 and also the colors are more vivid compared to the brighter and natural looking Pixel 9. Although in terms of edge detection, I think Nothing Phone 3 is better. On 2x, looking at the face, you got more details on Phone 3 and also warmer, but you have a beautified and cooler tone on Pixel 9. Again, in terms of shadows, Pixel 9 is better exposed. For some reason, I like the warmer and more detailed look of Nothing Phone 3. Also, my jacket is darker compared to the Pixel phone. Again, the face processing is a bit subjective. Some people might prefer Pixel 9. On portrait zoom, we got a closer 4x on Phone 3 versus 3x on Pixel 9. Again, same tendency, we got a more detailed and warmer looking Phone 3 compared to the highly processed and brighter Pixel 9. We got 4 focal lengths on Nothing Phone 3 from 1x to 4x, and we got 3 on Pixel 9, 1.5x to 3x. And on selfie portrait, we got that wider field of view on Pixel 9, which I like, and in terms of details and sharpness, almost the same look on both phones, just a tad more detailed on Phone 3. Alright, so this is the cinematic blur on Pixel 9 versus the regular video 1080p on Nothing Phone 3. So you would see that there's background blur on Pixel 9. Look at my face. So in terms of camera features, you have a lot on flagship phones like Pixel, Samsung, and Apple. I noticed that the flagship phone on Nothing doesn't have that much to offer in terms of camera feature. So I think if they want to step up their game and really compete with Apple, Samsung, and even Pixel, and also in terms of the pricing, they have to add video blur on their cameras. Sunshine. Daylight images, starting with the ultra-wide, you got a natural looking image on Pixel 9, which I like. The sky is less bluer than the competition. Looking at the floors on this mall, you will see that Pixel 9 is also warmer compared to Phone 3. The colors are popping out a bit more on the latest Pixel.
Isn't it beautiful? It's got my head all up in the clouds. I think I found it now.
On the main sensor test, we got a wider field of view on Pixel 9 and a bit punched in on the Nothing Phone 3. The sharpness and details goes to Phone 3, looking at the noise of this character. Overall, you get a sharper looking Phone 3 compared to Pixel 9.
About a single thing, I can feel the light coming down on me. Sunshine on my face, I got sunshine on my face. I don't gotta care.
On 3x, we got natural looking tone on Pixel 9 and we got a warmer looking Phone 3. The details on Pixel 9 is not so bad, but it's always better to have a dedicated telephoto lens like Nothing Phone 3.
Yeah, I got sunshine. I got.
On the 4D zoom, we got better reach and details on Phone 3 compared to Pixel competition.
I gotta let you know, it's so incredible. I'm finally letting go. Up and away.
And in terms of close-up, macro is available for both phones.
Found my flow, right on time, and now I know what it.
Alright, outdoor video quality test on Nothing Phone 3 and Google Pixel 9, 4K 60 FPS. On our outdoor test, we're actually shooting on the highest frame rate for both phones and also the highest resolution. Both phones can shoot 4K video recording. So this is the autofocus test. And look at the colors. So got natural looking colors, brighter on Nothing Phone 3 versus really good colors on Google Pixel 9. This is the vlogging test. And look at the details on my face. You got a warmer skin tone on Google Pixel. I also like that if your face is against the light, you would still see that information on the face for Google Pixel 9. Let's check video stabilization. Alright, let's check the rear cameras. Now, switching to the rear cameras, this is 4K 30 FPS using the ultra-wide. So we got a wider Google Pixel 9 versus Nothing Phone 3, 0.6x versus 0.5x. Looking at the colors, both natural looking, but the colors are popping out a bit more on Pixel. But the shadows and blacks are crushed on Nothing Phone 3, which is nice. The shadows here on the Nothing Phone 3. Let's check the autofocus. Also have a warmer white balance on Google Pixel 9. This is the vlogging test using the ultra-wide if you want to know what it looks like vlogging with these two phones using the ultra-wide 4K 30 FPS. And this is the stabilization test. Now switching to the main sensor, 24mm. You got a wider field of view on Nothing Phone 3 compared to Pixel 9. And again, the shadows are crushed on Nothing Phone 3. And you got an HDR looking Pixel 9. Look at the colors right here. Again, more detailed look on Nothing Phone 3 compared to a softer Pixel 9. Let's check the autofocus. Also over sharpened. Look at my hands on Nothing Phone 3. And again, softer on Pixel 9. Background blur. Almost the same for both phones. Let's check vlogging outdoors using the main sensor. 4K 30 FPS again. Google Pixel 9 versus Nothing Phone 3. And checking the stabilization. Now going for the optical zoom, we got 3x on Nothing Phone 3 and only digital crop on Pixel. So this is what it looks like. I like the details and the colors on Nothing Phone 3. So this is the advantage of the Nothing Phone compared to the Google Pixel. And going for the 4D zoom, we got 18x on Nothing Phone 3 and only 7x on Google Pixel 9. Switching back to the ultra-wide, which phone do you think is better? On night shots, starting with the ultra-wide, you got an HDR looking Pixel 9. You will see that the exposure is better. Nothing Phone 3 is a bit darker and soft on the ultra-wide. On pitch black condition, we got better exposure and brighter on Pixel 9. On the main sensor test, we got a closer battle here. Again, you got a warmer white balance on Pixel 9. And I like the Phone 3's individual colors looking at the 3, not blending in. But still, the image is a bit soft compared to Pixel phone. On pitch black, it's so much better now on Phone 3, but still Pixel 9 is better exposed. On 3x optical, we get a nicer looking Phone 3, but the digital crop on Pixel 9 is not so bad. And on pitch black condition, although darker, but less noisier image on Phone 3. This is the low light video test starting with the selfie video recording 4K 30 FPS. We can shoot 60 FPS on both phones. We have a 50 megapixel sensor on Nothing Phone 3 versus 10.5 megapixel sensor on Google Pixel 9. We got a brighter Pixel 9 compared to a darker and more contrast look on Nothing Phone 3. I think that's it. Let's check the rear cameras. Alright, so this is the ultra-wide sensors on both phones. Low-light video recording, 4K 30 FPS. We can also shoot 60 FPS on both phones. But I found out that 60 FPS is darker, so we're just using 30 FPS for low-light video recording. We got a 50 megapixel sensor on Nothing Phone 3 versus 48 megapixel sensor on Google Pixel 9. You got a warmer yellowish tone on Pixel 9 and a darker shade on Nothing Phone 3. I think that's it for the selfie video recording. Now let's check the main sensor. Now we're checking the main sensors of both phones. So 4K 30 FPS again. We can also shoot 60 FPS on both phones. So this is a 50 megapixel sensor, 1/1.3 inch sensor on Nothing Phone 3, and 1/1.31 inch sensor on Google Pixel 9. So almost the same sensor. I think the difference here is the white balance and a bit brighter on Nothing Phone 3. I think that's it for the main sensor test. Now let's check the zoom. And lastly, we're checking the zoom quality of both phones. So 3x optical zoom, 50 megapixel sensor on Nothing Phone 3, and only digital crop on Google Pixel 9. So I think that's it for our low light video test. Which phone do you think is better in terms of the low light video performance? Now let's check the video resolution. And this is the video resolution test, starting with Nothing Phone 3 in 4K 60 FPS. And this is Google Pixel 9 4K 60 FPS. We can shoot 1x, 1.4x up to 4x on this phone. Which phone do you think is better in terms of the camera performance? Leave your comment down below, and as always, thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.